Welcome to Sewing Street tutorial YouTube. I'm here to show you how to make this eek eek little mouse. I'm Steffi from The Makers. I've needle felted for 20 years. If you love doing this, you might even be tempted to make a strawberry for your mouse. The technique that we're specifically focusing on is wrapping wire with wool. In the mouse kit, you get your felting needles, your glue-in eyes. You get a little felting mat, which I won't use because I've got mine here ready already. You get your pipe cleaners, which are essential for making the mice. Incidentally, these are really super good quality pipe cleaners. So when you bend them, the wire doesn't get exposed. So they're luxury pipe cleaners, and they're particularly good for when you use them on mice where you have to have the pipe cleaner exposed. You get your mouse making wool, which in this case is white, and a little bit of pink to mix for the ears. The felting needles, I'm using mostly a medium and a fine, and I have got mine here ready to put into action. Now for this one, you will need also some scissors or wire cutters if you don't want to ruin your scissors. I'm terrible at cutting wire with scissors because one of the wires you need to cut in half. Now each half of this makes a set of limbs. The way to start out is by bending the wire in so that the ends meet in the middle. So you're in effect halving the wire, but the two ends come together here in the center. Now this little loop here and this little loop here, you will recognize will make the little paws on either side and later the feet. So the first thing about wrapping wool around wire is that you use very small quantities. And if you pinch a bit of wool off, you can actually usually tease it into a strand by just giving a little tug so it becomes longer. The rules to adhere to is that to use this wool strand like a piece of ribbon. So you're going to start by getting it established. We're going to leave the end of the bent wire about 1 centimeter we leave exposed, and then you're going to wrap this like a ribbon, which means you're going to keep it flat. Notice that I'm working really close to the wire so that I can keep a nice tension, and I want the wool to go onto the pipe cleaner really thin and quite taut. Sometimes what works best is if you wrap with one hand and hold it with the other hand. A lot of people turn this round and you're actually allowing the wool to grip into the pipe cleaner by twisting the wire. That's a personal preference. Some people don't think about it and they just do it as second nature. But if this doesn't come naturally, then just keep winding the wool around. I'm not twisting the wool. It stays completely flat. Think about the ribbon. When you get to the end, and you've still got some wool left, tease it off and then just allow the last wispy ends to grip into the wool so that you make a nice smooth cover. So I don't need to needle felt this at all. I literally have got a set of arms at the ready here. If you need to repeat this process, make sure you start out again from where you started so that you put the second layer of wool so that it doesn't unwind the first layer. So you need to wind it around in the same direction. I'll show you all of this again because I've got another set of legs here. So I'll speed this up a little bit. So you have now two sets of limbs. One can be the arms and one can be the feet. So then you're going to take the second longer part of the pipe cleaner. So this is pipe cleaner number 2 we keep as a whole, and you bend this in by about 1/3. So the pipe cleaner in this case is about 30 centimeters long. So 10 centimeters has been bent in, and this bent end here, hopefully you recognize this, is the little nose poking out here. So now we're going to twist the top of this pipe cleaner in by about 4 to 5 centimeters. It's almost like you're screwing a screw into the wool. So now this part here is completely close together, and then you've got a part here which is almost like a fork, and where the part is here, that is where you're going to put your first set of limbs. Now they need to be trapped in there, so you're going to tighten the pipe cleaner below it, and you twist that for about 2 centimeters so that you get to another fork here, and you're going to add the second set of limbs into this. Then with the rest of the pipe cleaner, we're going to get rid of it. So just wrap it around the body by going up. So now you've got a strange double cross here, but if you don't have to do this if you are doing your mouse, but just to give you the idea where we're going with this, once you start bending your shape into position, you can see where the mouse is coming from. So you've got the shape of the mouse, and we just need to add literally meat to the bones. And for this, we're going back to the position, and we're starting with the head. So this time I'm taking a little bit more generous amounts of the wool, and I'm starting by wrapping the wool towards the back of the head, and I need to try and make a tapered shape because the mouse's head is sort of pointy, so I need more wool at the back of the head than I need at the front of the head. And the same rules of how to wrap wool around wire apply in that you are keeping the wool flat like a ribbon. This time I'm using more generous amounts, but I'm pulling it tight as I'm doing this. And very shortly I'm going to start needle felting it down. So add a little bit more. You can only wrap so many layers of wool before you do need to felt it into place. So once I've done my layer of wool now, I'm going to take my felting needle. If you stab straight into the head, like I'm trying to do here now, you hit the wire. So you don't want to do this because the wire will win, the needle will break. So you want to go along the wire. And the best way to do this is to go along the face where you are trying to build the bulk at the back, because you're pushing the wool back at the same time. So you're helping to make that tapered shape of the head. If you need to felt straight into the head, do this where you know you're going past the wire. So from now on, all you're trying to do is avoid the wire, because like I said, the wire will win, your needle will bend and then break. If you lose your nose because you've overshot a little bit like this, don't panic. Just keep stabbing into the tip of the nose where you know it is, and it will come out magically because you're pushing the wool away and felting it around the area, and there is the little pink nose coming out again. Like with many needle felting projects, don't worry too much if the head is not perfect, because you have many opportunities to adjust the shaping, add more wool even at the until the very end of your project. Sometimes it's better to move on to the next stage because you will need the other parts of the mouse to get a sense of proportions. At the moment, the mouse is facing up, so at some point you're going to have to face the head down. But what we're doing next is we're just going to wrap a little bit of wool around the midriff. So that is just that part here that is pink, with ignoring the legs entirely. Same principle again, take a little bit of wool, start here in the middle, wrap it around the center just to build up a little bit of a layer so that the pink wire is disappearing. You can felt this down if you need to, so just give it a bit of a stab. You now have to decide what's the front and the back of the mouse, because you need to bend the feet forward. You're going to keep the arms up, but you can start bending the head down so you get a sense of proportions. I love this stage because it just looks like the mouse is ready to receive the rest of its wool. We are going to build bulk now really quickly because this mouse has got this sort of slightly saggy trouser look, and that is what we're doing next. So now you're taking the most generous amount of wool that you've done so far. You start at the top of the mouse's chest, wrap the wool around, and as you're going down, you're going to be very soft with the wraps. So make sure that your mouse hasn't got the feet too close together, so keep them slightly apart, otherwise it looks like they're wearing a pencil skirt. Wrap the wool around it. Now what I often do is, we don't say this in our instructions, but I find this really useful, it sort of sticks to itself, but to get the wool even into the right shape, I sometimes just put the mouse into my hand and then tighten the wool by just turning it, but concentrating the tightening on the top rather than the bottom, because we want the bottom to stay nice and soft. Now you're going to start felting it down at the top to make it fit the mouse again, so that we have that chest part less bulky. So you go all the way around. Remember to hold back with that needle in case you hit the wire, and you will also have to turn your mouse upside down and just get that wool felted down between the legs, so now it doesn't fall off the mouse at the base. And now you're going to work on the rest of it. And similar to the head, we're now angling the needle slightly towards the base of the mouse. So before we did it towards the base of the head, now we're doing it towards the base of the mouse. So this way you are continuing to felt the wool down, but you're maintaining the tapered shape. So you're not flattening the wool at the base, you're actually going in harmony with how the shape is meant to be. And now you can felt this down as firmly as you like or as softly as you want it. There's plenty of wool in our kits to make either a rock solid little mouse or to make quite a soft fluffy one. I'm not sinking the needle too deep into the shape right now because I'm felting the wool, but I'm not making it a solid shape. Now I'm quite happy with this shape for now. Troubleshooting could be that you have a little gap here at the back. This is where needle felting, well, I love needle felting especially because you can cover up any. Take a little bit of the white wool, you can tease it apart to build a little, almost like a little wad of wool, place it onto the area you want to cover up, felt into it and felt it down so that the wispy ends sink into the rest of the, or melt into the rest of the shape, and you're literally covering up anything that's unsightful. Now, one of the other things that can happen is that one of the arms is thicker wrapped than the other arm, so you can still wrap that one arm a little bit more, or you can felt down one side to make it thinner. Lots of adjustments can happen with needle felting. It is just one of the most forgiving and most correctable crafts that I know of. Now we're getting to the ears. We've got a blind mouse. Often creatures don't look straight away how you want them to look. So there we are. You've got your mouse shape. So now I'm going to start on the ears. I take a larger amount of white than I take pink. You can use the pink as it is, but it looks a little bit sore once it's on that white because it's a very contrasting color. And mix the two wools together by overlaying them, teasing them apart. The main message here is use small quantities, so don't use too much for this. Lay this onto your felting mat, and now I'm going to needle felt the outline of a horseshoe onto the mat. So you can see it's like a semicircle. So it looks a little bit like this. And then you fold the fibers outside that horseshoe inward. So I'm only stabbing this very superficially because with every stab I make, I'm also fastening this onto my felting mat, which means that it's now fastened on. So you have to gently tease it off. And I hold onto these wispy ends that are falling out of the horseshoe to now continue shaping my mouse ear. And that's one ear done. And now I'm going to do the same with the other one. It's always a challenge to make the same size ears, but you also have a chance once you attach them to the mouse's head to adjust them again. Now it's really essential to have these wispy ends at the end because they are helping us to attach the ears to the mouse. So I've got two ears, they look pretty much the same. Don't be disheartened if your ears are not straight away the exact same size. You can also attach them and then adjust them again, and I'll show you how to do this too. Sometimes there's a lot of these wispy ends, so you can actually tease a bit of them off. And now you're going to position the ear by teasing open the fibers of the ears onto the mouse's head. So you're placing the fibers all around the mouse's head, and you're just stabbing into the wispy ends to get the ear felted on. The next thing you're going to do is, as it's just a flat disc at the moment, you want to stab into the edge of the mouse's ear to stab the side at the bottom slightly forward, and then you repeat this on the other side so that you're now making a curved shape. And all the while you're working really close to the ear because you're stabbing these wispy pink fibers into the head so that you tuck them away, but at the same time you're securing the ear onto the head. And then finally you just stab into the imaginary ear hole, and that completes the shaping of the ear. So you should have a little, almost like a little shell shape now attached to the side of the head. And then you repeat that on the other side. Symmetry is essential, so make sure that the ears are in the same position, not one is like slightly more forward or higher up. Now, if you've spilled out over the head some of these pink fibers, you remember you can cover up anything. So just use a little bit of the white wool, felt it around the ears, and they will disappear in no time. Similarly, if you want to shorten the ears, then you can stab along the ear so that you push the ear in, the fibers in, so that will shorten the ears quite dramatically. So I've got a little mouse, I've got a little blind mouse now, which definitely needs eyes to see what's going on. And remember, it's a lot of the shape of the mouse is in the adjustment of the wire inside. So if you've got a mouse that looks like this, just open up the arms and allow for some shoulders to be in that shape. So luckily I've got these little glue-in eyes which put an instant sparkle into any mouse's eyes, and I'm going to now poke a hole into the mouse's head. That always sounds really terrible, but no mouse has been harmed in the making of this one. So you need to go all the way in with your felting needle unless you have an awl. That makes it sometimes easier. And you also have to at the same time try to avoid the wire. If you hit the wire, just adjust the needle a little bit and try and go in again. Also be mindful where the needle comes out because your finger could get impaled on it, so you don't want that. One eye in, repeat on the other side. You've got 2 eyes in now. Then all you need to do is, if once you're happy with the position of the eyes, then you can just take a little bit of glue, whether you have one of these glue bottles or you have a nozzle on any other glue bottle, and we recommend to take a quick drying and clear drying PVA based glue. You don't need a special glue, and just add a dab of glue behind the eye, pop the eyes back in, and your little mouse friend is ready. And what we love about these mice is when you can accessorize them. So some of our kits, you can make a knitting mouse, you can make glasses for the mouse, you can give your mouse some cheese. There we go. Get the mice accessorized. There are so many accessories. It is actually quite addictive to find them all. Yes, there's no end to it. How about putting a cupcake in a crochet bag? You can crochet yourself a bag for your mouse. I can't wait to see all your mice come to life and have a big mouse party. Thank you very much for watching, and please make sure you subscribe and like our YouTube channel. Thank you.